You're popularly known for implementing the Hearts doctrine in Kashmir. And this became an issue because most of us, even while growing up, we heard about many of these fictional stories about how there was a huge gap between armed forces and the civilians in Kashmir. Now, you try to actively bridge those existing gaps between the civilians and the armed forces. Can you please share some of your personal encounters while working on the doctrine?
Let me first of all take no credit for this at all. Let me ascribe the credit for all this to the Indian Army's operational philosophy. The Indian Army believes that when it conducts counterinsurgency or counter-terrorist operations, it has to do this in a balanced way, in which the center of gravity of the conflict is invariably the people, or invariably the people.
Right.
Whichever side the people of that region go, that side will be the ultimate victor. Keeping that aspect in mind, there are two targets in these campaigns. One is the terrorists who are, carrying out the acts of violence. I would say, in fact, there are three segments. One is the terrorists. The second are the overground workers who form the networks without which a terrorist campaign cannot progress at all. These networks allude to things like finances. Without money, nothing can work. Arms, ammunition, that is wherewithal. Human resources, that is terrorists themselves. Ideologues, that is the motivational aspect, ideology itself. And to a great extent, media and legal networks. So there is a plethora of these networks which function at any one time, which enables the terrorists to function. These have to be neutralized. And largely, and last of all, are the people of that region.
Right.
So you have to balance out your operations. You will want to neutralize the terrorists physically by conduct of operations, but at the same time, the impact of your conduct, the impact of your operations must not adversely have any effect on the local population. For example, if a terrorist is holed up in a house and you surround the house, put a cordon around it, if you destroy that house, that individual is going to be without a house. His family is going to be without a house.
Right.
How do you compensate him for that? It is not necessary that he has collaborated or cooperated with the terrorists. Many times it happens that terrorists force their entry into such houses. And therefore, we should never generalize these issues in an environment of this kind. It's very important to therefore take a human angle to ensuring that the population remains with you, the awam as they are called.
Right.
One of the Indian Army formally adopted in 1997 a strategy of winning hearts and minds through military civic action. And this military civic action is termed as Operation Sadbhavna. We are now in the 24th year of Operation Sadbhavna, where a set of money is kept aside and is essentially spent by formations and troops on a couple of things for the population, for the local people. Number one is education, school education. Number two is medical facilities for the people. Number three is small-scale infrastructure, like footbridges, a road, or a wall for a school, or toilets for a girls' school. You'll be surprised. There are schools in Kashmir where girls had to actually did not have facilities to even go to the toilets.
Right.
It's the army which realized this, and the army which went and constructed it. And a lot of people asked us, "What is your business in doing this?" And we said, "We are a people's army. We are concerned about the people. We fight the terrorists, but we support the people." And that's the reason why the Indian Army is always known for its humaneness, for its ability to carry the people with it. This is a very essential aspect of these operations. I found that all I did In 2010, when I went back as the corps commander in Kashmir, all I did was that perhaps I strategized this entire philosophy. I said that in 1990, we used 80% hard power and 20% soft power. Now in 2010, the requirement is that we use 20% hard power and 80% soft power.
Right.
Because the strength of terrorists had come down from 6,000 to 7,000 in 1990 to less than 300 in the year 2010. So it was only rational, it was only logical that we spend more time on looking after the population rather than focusing so much on the terrorists. We focused on the terrorists. It's not that we don't focus on the terrorists, but we wanted to create an environment in which the local administration come back into its own. Because in one of the biggest victims of such situations is the fact that the local administration cannot step out easily, is under threat, and therefore the effects of its work is not telling on the ground for the people. You will find roads and tracks have not come up, development work has languished, bridges are falling apart, electricity transformers have burnt and not been replaced over a period of time. So all one did was to go out into the field and encourage the administrators to accompany us, took the politicians with us also, sat with the people, and all we did was we gave security to all these people to allow them to interact with the people. And it worked. It worked wonderfully when the people felt more empowered. They felt that the government and the army was doing much more for them, and they came forward in great numbers to support us.
Right.
That was a great victory for us.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.